Hello and welcome everybody to the Iceberg. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday night. I'm your host, Casey Stamp, along with my partner, as always, Craig Smith. How you doing tonight, Craig?
Feeling great. Enjoying the playoffs.
Awesome playoffs so far. We've got a great show for you all tonight. Of course, talking about the first three games in the Penguins Lightning series. As always, we'll have the latest on Sidney Crosby. We're going to talk about some of the other playoff series in the NHL. And as always, we'll finish off with game predictions for the upcoming games in the series and fan emails. Stay tuned right here on the Iceberg. Welcome back. Wednesday night, the Penguins began their series with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Of course, the first time these two teams have ever met in the playoffs. But the Penguins would have home ice advantage. Game one, first period, really physical to start off, and Brooks Orpik would set the tone for the game, if not the series, by laying out Steven Stamkos. And if that wasn't a welcome to the playoffs for the Lightning, I don't know what is. Partner, what do you think about the Game 1 defense of the Penguins?
It was really tough. I mean, you look at how strong Fleury was in that game, really setting the tone, getting a shutout. And in the playoffs, those are hard to come by. I mean, we had a couple teams that had shutouts recently, but Fleury's actually puts him up there as one of the top goaltenders in the NHL.
Absolutely, and I think the Penguins were really trying to send a strong message. The goals weren't going to come easy in this series, and everything was going to be really physical. No scoring in the first period, but really a lot of unbelievable saves from Marc-Andre Fleury that would be really key for the Penguins in this game. Partner, we've seen him do it before. Flower came up big again Wednesday night. Do you think this series really rides on the play of Marc-Andre Fleury?
Well, it's been said by a few other people, notable commentators, etc., and especially with Malkin and Crosby out of the lineup. I mean, we really need Fleury to step up and to handle business because he's our star right now. So,
absolutely. They always say your best penalty killer is your netminder, and he's been huge all year for the Pens. He showed his best stuff in Wednesday night's game. The second period would also be scoreless, but a ton of puck possession, time for Pittsburgh. Partner, it seems like the Penguins really came out focused for that second period. What do you think may have been said in the locker room?
Well, Dan Bilesma, he's really good at motivating his guys, getting them fired up, and they know when they need to pick it up. So the Pens came out, and they realized that they hadn't done much and that they needed to build on things and get it going. And by the third period, they really kicked it into full stride and went out with a bang and sent a strong message about what kind of game they were going to play in this series.
And also we saw Sidney Crosby up in the press box with a headset. Was he talking to the players or the coaches? And if so, what do you think he was contributing, if anything?
I think he was talking to everybody. I think he's got that eye in the sky view, and you can see all the ice, see exactly what's going on. Probably talking to the line coaches, talking to Danny Bilesma, Todd Reardon, Tony Granato, probably keeping in touch with those guys and with some of the players on the ice. So just overseeing things.
Absolutely, and hopefully soon he will be back on the ice. Third period, finally the Penguins' momentum would lead them to a 1-0 lead at 6:05 of the third when Alex Kovalev would be tripped up, but no call. He would quickly get back up and get himself into excellent position to accept the pass from James Neal and put the puck by Dwayne Rollison, giving the Penguins the edge. Partner, Alex Kovalev struggled to get the big goals in regulation this season for the Pens. Do you expect that there may be a momentum shift and he may be a really key player in this playoff series and possibly future playoff series?
Well, I talked about his clutch ability, his ability to score goals in events like shootouts, and that's really relevant when you're talking about the playoffs that almost relies exclusively on that clutch ability that Kovalev has. So I think he's going to get more and more goals and make more and more big plays throughout the playoffs because of that clutch ability.
Absolutely, and there's no doubt he's got some valuable playoff experience under his belt that could give the Penguins an edge. Just seconds after that, the first goal Aaron Asham would score on the wraparound, giving the Penguins the 2-0 lead. And then late in the game, Tampa would pull their goalie, and it would be Chris Kunitz who would score the empty net goal and give the Penguins the 3-0 win and the 1-0 series lead. So a huge game for Marc-Andre Fleury, his 5th playoff shutout, and he is our Iceberg player of the game for Game 1. Game 2 took on a bit of a different feel. As just 121 into the game, Max Talbot called for slashing, which would give Tampa the power play, but then just seconds later, Martin St. Louis would also be sent to the box for hooking. So the referees active early on in this one, and it would be a big deciding factor overall on the game. Partner, why all the involvement in this game and so far in this series by the refs?
Well, some of it is I think they're watching especially closely, considering some of the stuff we saw, especially in Game 3, that they're monitoring this series and trying to make sure that things are fair. At times, though, they're missing very important calls, and at other times, they're calling things that are actually non-penalties or phantom calls. So it's been very hit or miss with the officiating in this series. And
Eric Brewer would score the first goal of the game on the 4-on-4, giving the Lightning the early lead at 5:21. More from the officials as Jordan Stahl would receive a boarding call, setting up the power play chance for the Lightning. And this time, it would be Vincent Lecavalier would score on the power play, making it a 2-0 lead. Then again at 17:02, the Lightning would score as Nate Thompson would get the goal, giving the Lightning the 3-0 advantage going into the second. Partner, this game was so different from the first. What do you think changed?
Some of it is it didn't look like the Penguins were hustling as hard as they were in Game 1 and then again in Game 3. It looked as though they were a bit tired, honestly, when I was watching them play. So that momentum, that inability to generate that speed and to put everything in the line kind of hurt everybody in Game 2.
Well, the Penguins did get some offense going in the second as Craig Adams, the two-time Stanley Cup winner, would score and cut the deficit. But then at the end of the period, Brooks Orpik would be penalized for a cross-check, and that would once again set up a power play goal, this time for Marty St. Louis. Third period, more frustration for the Penguins, and eventually it would be too much as Max Talbot would get a game misconduct, and Pascal Dupuis would get the roughing call, and Matthias Oland would score into the empty net, making the final score 5-1 Tampa Bay victory to tie the series at 1. Partner, you hate to be the guy, again, who talks about the officiating, but it's such a huge part of the game and can really alter a game or even an entire series and the playoffs. And it seems like, again, this series has had very aggressive officials. Is that the way you see it?
Well, it seems as though they're aggressive at times and then lax at others. I see what I see is a lack of consistency from the officiating crew is the biggest issue that the games and the playoffs in general are facing, because I've seen a lot of it. It's not just the Penn series or the Hawks and Red Wings series or any of the series. It's everywhere, all across the NHL right now, that there's a lack of consistency.
Well, certainly we hope to see more consistency in the upcoming games. Game 3 was played Monday night, changing venues this time in Tampa. And, of course, we mentioned last week, Pittsburgh, a great team on the road. And right away, the Penguins would come out swinging at 5:46 of the first. Max Talbot would score the first of the game and give the Penguins the early advantage. And then again at 6:31, Aaron Asham would score on the rebound of a Mike Rupp shot and put the Penguins up 2-0. Partner, Aaron Asham is a guy with a lot of playoff savvy, a former Flyer. Not only develops a physical presence, but can also score goals. Could he be someone that contributes heavily to the Pens throughout the series and possibly the next playoff series?
Absolutely. I mean, he's really picked it up, especially in the postseason. He brings a strong physical play to the game. And plus, he has an ongoing rivalry kind of with Steve Downey, where he's seen him over the years with different teams and really just doesn't like the guy, apparently, from what I hear.
Oh, well, he looks like Mario Lemieux, and maybe he could put those looks to good use and play like him. By the way, we don't want to forget to mention the big hit by Steve Downey on Ben Lovejoy just before that first goal. Partner, was it a clean hit in your eyes?
It's a textbook case of Rule 48 right there with leaving the ground. I mean, Lovejoy was nice, and he said that the contact was not to the head. But at the same time, if you leave the ground on a charge, especially if you're a guy that has a history of suspension like Steve Downey does, that you're going to get called for that and you're probably going to get a suspension.